Today is.
Yeah, tomorrow's gonna be warmer.
Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, that's
So
good.
it's gonna rain.
Well, it has to rain and you didn't have a shower.
So you.
We'll see when it gets here. So I rain here.
I'm a war. What I get is.
I pretty much want to honor the previous role. I worked in the drain for an hour. Introduced everybody.
Yeah. I got home yesterday.
He's not gonna come.
I know Stan's not gonna be going out.
I decided to say. Okay.
Where's Stan?
Stan had a conflict with something, I'm not sure what it was, but
Oh, this is most important.
he was gone, he won't be back till, I think, Wednesday night, I think.
Oh, really?
I think he left this weekend. I don't know what it was, but he said it was good, so. What was the matter with your truck, just a service?
Yeah. Well, not an inspection.
Where'd you take it?
It's on legal faith Toyota.
Where's that?
Well, it used to be Duran Toyota Ford.
Oh, so down there, Falls. Yep, beautiful day today.
Some different yesterday.
You know, yesterday was a washout for me. I had all kinds of plans that never worked out.
I'm hoping Davey cut some wood for me. But I don't know if he did.
Today?
Yes, sir.
What, did he cut in the rain?
He cuts in the rain, yeah, he
Who
does.
does?
That's when he does.
Oh,
Saw it. That's called saw.
I talked to Terry, I told her.
Well, it's different.
Who's cutting timber?
Cutting timbers out.
No, cutting logs. Sawing logs.
Well, I think like he said, 8 a.m.
All right, let's get started here. All right, fine, we can get started. It's 6 o'clock. It's a nice day. People want to go home and be outside still. All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. We need a motion to adopt the agenda with one change that will move the wastewater committee report up between 7 and 8.
So moved.
Second. All right. Any further discussion? So all in favor of that? Say aye. Aye. Okay. And we motion to adopt the agenda as amended? Yes. No discussion, so good. Okay, everybody's approved of that. We have 2 minutes. We have the minutes of the 3rd and the minutes of the 10th. Why don't we do them individually since Josh, you were not here for the 10th, so.
Make a motion we adopt the minutes of June 3rd as written.
Second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion? All in favor of the motion to adopt the Monday, June 3rd minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Then we have the matter of the minutes of the 10th.
Make a motion we adopt the minutes of June 10th as written.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. And you abstained or? Okay. All right, so that's done. Just one other thing, since Stan is not here tonight, any motion has to be approved, cannot be a tie. So it has to be either 3-1 or it'll be passive. Okay? The warrants were signed and presented to the select board, so they're done.
They're there.
And we're here, so that's been completed. Highway report?
Danny can't be here.
Right.
We have one wait permit.
One wait bid for Cardinal Logistics Management Corporation in Concord, North Carolina, whatever. So I guess we need an approval, is that what we have to approve this?
And authorize me to sign it.
Yeah, so somebody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Okay, Any further discussion? All in favor of the Cardinal Logistics Management Corporation's overweight weight convert, say aye. Aye. Opposed? So you'll get this bill and you can sign it.
Yep.
Highway report, go ahead.
Turner Hill has a sloughing slope problem.
Has a what?
A sloughing slope. About 100 feet of the slope on the right-hand side above the creek, after you get up to the steep part where it starts to level off, is sloughing off. I've written to Mark Pickering to see if he gets some money for V-Trans. Don't know what can be done. He's gonna come look at it, and he's gonna bring Scott Jensen to look at it too. It's 100 feet and it's going down the river and is all eventually gonna go on down the creek, but, so we just have to see. It's not a good news, but it's something that needs to be done. And, but I just wanted to mention to you because I just learned about it today.
Okay.
Okay, and we're working on it. The other thing is the trailer. It costs $4,000 is what the company is saying to fix the trailer and put it back. $2,000 of that is for the parts. So even if we fix it ourselves, it costs us $2,000. The other $2,000 is for them to do the work and to align it. Danny would prefer that they align it because it's going to have a lot of weight on it, and he can align it, but it isn't the scientific equipment that they have. So he preferred that they did all the work, and so it would be $4,000 on that, and it would come out of the highway budget, but I'm not exactly sure.
So the total altogether would be 6,000?
No.
No,
4,000.
well, 4,000 plus we paid.
He budgeted it for 3,000.
We paid,
So
we
it'd be-
paid 3,000 for it.
So it'd be 7.
So
But
the
the
7,
3,000
that's what I'm trying to say, 7 is the total.
The 3,000 comes out of capital budget,
Correct.
and the balance would come out of, well, it could come out of capital budget, bill, I guess. I don't know.
Originally, we talked to Danny about have a budget of up to 6,000.
Right. So I guess we're looking for a motion whether or not we're gonna fix it or we're gonna have the company fix it.
Did Danny mention how much time he thought it would take if they were to do it here?
Well, if they did, it takes away other jobs that they could be doing.
Yeah, and they're borrowing, and they're demoing the excavators now. It's been really efficient. That excavator they used the other day, they did almost all of Bell Road and the culvert up the hill in one day, which would have taken them 3 or 4 days with the backhoe. And so they're really happy with that. But that's what they're doing. They're demoing. They have another one in now. I think I didn't see it out there. I didn't.
They passed me today on 121 and headed out towards towards Houghtonville. I don't know where they were going with the excavator and the dump trucks, so.
Okay, anyway, they are.
So they're using Danny's trailer right now until the trailer we just got gets repaired.
Now, all the trailers they looked at, this was the best one. They looked at others that were 5,000 and 6,000 that were in worse shape. This one that they got for 3,000.
Okay.
So they're pretty happy with the trailer. It needs wood and it needs the back end built, but the other ones were worse.
I'd move that we authorize Danny to spend the 4,000 to have it done off-site.
Second.
Any other discussion? So, all in favor of having the work done outside for $4,000, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Well, there you go. Have them fix it.
I think that's it. That's it.
Okay. Kim, you're on.
Okay, I think Josh, there's a cemetery deed, Bill, did you hand that out to?
I don't have it here, so I don't have it
over
here.
here.
Oh,
You
okay.
do have it, okay, all right, if you wouldn't mind signing the cemetery
So all of
deed.
this signed? No, just the clerk.
Just the clerk,
right,
yeah.
that's fine.
And then I'll just-
And then you're gonna witness that signature.
Yeah, I notarize it on afterwards.
Okay.
On the financials I gave you, I think I sent them in an email on Friday.
They all have them in front of them.
Okay. I didn't know if you had questions. We did have one more, like I explained, one payroll and AP that was done today. So these do not include what we've done today, only because I wasn't in the office today. But it kind of gives you a pretty close idea of where we stand. When I get back in the office on Thursday, I'll send you the newest and updated latest, and that's it for the fiscal year.
You're the only one that's.
In your estimation, are we gonna be under or over, and how, if we are, how much? Looks to me like it's gonna be
Looking
close.
right now, we're close.
Yeah.
I think town-wise, we might be a little bit over when it comes to the town. I know Danny's looks like it's gonna probably be a little over, but then again, I wanna itemize on Thursday what he's actually had as an expenditure, but it's offset by the revenues with the grants.
Right,
And that way that we can explain them why he maybe seem over, but he's,
right,
in reality, he's not.
right.
So the new bookkeeping that we authorized will not show income, but you'll be able to give us a statement that tracks that.
Well, that's not gonna change anything that you're gonna get normally, and that'll start the 1st of July, we'll do the cash basis.
But you will,
We're still gonna see a revenue, and we're still gonna see the expenditure, and it's gotta stay separate like that.
Correct, but I understand that for bookkeeping reasons, but still to know that we had money coming in from a grant, because we're gonna, sorry.
I thought we had a bird here.
There'll still be that grant section of the revenue part of it, yeah.
Right.
I didn't know if you had any questions after looking this over, and if you wanted to individually come in, and then I can pull out the categories if you have a question as to why one seems more than the other. I'm more than welcome to her. While we're on financials, I talked to Michelle today, who was covering for me, and I guess Sullivan Powers, Sarah, who has done our audit in the past, she wants to start on the audit process. Actually, she wanted today. She wanted some of our numbers sent today, because now we're in a cash basis. It's easier and quicker, and we don't have to wait till the end of the fiscal year, so I'm gonna do it on Thursday, but I can start her already getting audit set. She's raring to go on it.
Good.
So that'll be really good.
Okay.
So that's it on these financials. And the next one, let's go to the financial management questionnaire. Did everybody get a copy of that?
I sent it to him, and I only have the one copy, I didn't scan it.
This is the one you filled out here, right?
That's the
Yeah.
one I filled
Yeah.
out, and I didn't know if anybody had questions on it.
Have anybody seen this one?
Or did you
Take a quick
email it
look
to
and
all
then I
of
can
them?
pass it down.
Yeah.
And what it is, it's kind of like a checklist for myself and to make you guys aware of where we stand, how we do the process of our financials. And if you had any questions on it, and then just on a yearly basis, ask you guys to sign off on it, that you're aware of who opens our statements, that it's not me. I do sign the checks, but I don't call for the check, I don't print the checks, It's kind of checks and balances, keeping us on our toes for the year.
Well, this is good. Having deposited town monies anywhere other than town account. No.
And it better be no, right? And some of that, if there is a no or a yes that you didn't think there should be, they take in consideration the size of your town and the size of your office, that you can't always have one person making a deposit and another person, I make the deposit. I'm a current tax collector, so I take in the money from the people, plus I deposit into the bank, and it asks that. I think that's one of the questions. There's not enough people in the office to have segregated duties. So they're fine with that. Just a formality to do on a yearly basis. The next thing I have was,
While we're on that subject,
I'll let them look at it.
we still need to have this,
Risk management?
yes, and I guess would be some things that would possibly be discussed, or they have concerns about, I don't know, but we need to do that, and that's something we need to keep in mind. it kind of got sidetracked last year, we kind of
Right.
missed it, but we kind of promised them that we would do it. And I know Bill did some research on that. And VLCT, I think,
What we're-
held a course or something?
Well, they will come out and do the training.
Right, okay.
So that's what we have to do is schedule and pay for the
Right.
risk management training.
It'd be nice if we made like one more step towards that before the end of our fiscal year too.
Okay, I could,
Then that can be documented in the upcoming audit.
Well, why don't we put this on the July 1st agenda and see what the cost is gonna be, and then we can decide how we wanna do it.
I'll see if I can make arrangements with them.
Yeah, if you can, if not, we'll do it later. But I just don't want it to go bye-bye again, you know?
You just said that they provided training.
Yeah, we have to,
And pay.
we have to pay, no, we have to pay for
I
it.
thought you said and they paid for it.
No, we pay.
We pay for it.
We have to pay the trainer.
I understood you to say they.
No, I said it's paid, so
Okay.
let's put it on the meeting, and then we get the amount, and we can decide how we wanna do it. We don't need to have a trainer, we could do it ourselves.
No,
Is that, no?
Well,
this is not,
It's involved.
this is not the
Yeah.
policy, this is the actual training you've got to go through.
Okay.
It's complicated, the risk management.
Well, they've been asking for the number of years, I do know that, and we have never acknowledged it, so maybe we should.
Okay, so now the recording fee, I needed to make you aware of the new recording fee, and did everybody get a copy of that?
Yeah, they already have a copy of
The
it.
summary of recording fees?
Yeah, but I have it here too.
I don't have what's on there, I don't have it on there. But this is not something, that this is by statute, right, or by
Yeah, this is
legislature?
a new statute, starting July 1st. I need to make everyone aware of it. I have one more copy. I can-
No, I have it right
You
here.
got it there?
Just,
So essentially what it is, when researchers come in, they research in my vault, usually it's $2 an hour minimum, and then I do $1 per copy for each page. The statute's now changed it, that it's from $2 to $4 an hour minimum. They want all clerks to be the same across the board, so they don't want offices to be different than one another. Used to be $10 a page to record anything, when a mortgage is sent to me, or a warranty deed was $10 a page, now they've upped it to $15 a page. Prices had not increased for years for recording fees. The reason they explain, if you happen to want to look into the statute that they did this, is there's a lot of towns that do not have a preservation of records account set aside, so they're not saving money to preserve the records. We have for the last, probably 15 years, we've always taken a portion of my recording fees and moved it to preservation of records. And that's when I bind books, I buy land record books, archive paper, shelving for the vault, all of that I've used from that. For every $10 I collect, $10 a page, I've always put $6 into preservation, $4 I keep as clerk fees, which gets rolled over into the general fund. A lot of towns don't have that, so this is making it mandatory that towns now, when they collect, they have to put a minimum of $4 into preservation. And then the remainder will go into their clerk fees. So because I've already got that set up, I'm gonna leave it, that $6 out of the 15 is gonna go to preservation. And then the remainder 9 is gonna just go into clerk fees, which then adds to the income of the town and the general fund. I don't have a reason to have to change it unless my board feels necessary that I drop it down to $4 a page. Right now, we've got probably $14,000 set aside in preservation of records, but over the years, I bought shelving. We just bought a map cabinet. I've bound a couple $1,000s worth of books in the last 3 years from the funds. So I'm comfortable not changing it. I like having the $6 if the town can get along with just getting $4 of my fees, but now the town's gonna get $9 of my fees.
Do you need a motion from us, or do?
I mean, it probably would be nice to have a motion saying that we would like to leave it, that the Preservation's gonna get the $6 that we've been carrying along for the last 10 years. Where the other towns have to make the motion that they're setting aside an account to begin with, and then $4, we're gonna stay at the 6. This just shows a little bit of what I have to take in for fees. It goes a little bit more into detail, but I don't think you guys, this is more just to make you aware that there's been changes to a statute.
So somebody want to make a motion that we keep the preservation at $6?
So moved. Or second.
Second. Any discussion from the board, Kathy?
No,
So all in favor of retaining the $6 for preservation, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. Now, this questionnaire needs to be signed by the select board? Is it?
Or, I'm not sure, what does it say,
It
the
says
chair?
received by select board signature. Is it just the chair or is it all the board?
Just the chair,
Okay.
and then I can show that to Sullivan Power.
And are we okay with this?
Nobody had any questions?
There's no issues?
Okay.
I have a question on your risk management. Who does, someone's gonna train and who gets trained?
Select board. It's above the treasurer because it's kind of, it involves, can you explain, but it's more of a select board wide, town-wide policy, not just financials. It's for any kind of a risk that we may be taking.
It's to make sure that you are supervising and the town is running in such a way that, well, basically, all those questions on there should be answered correctly as they are on there, okay? And that's what the training is. That's basically the list of the training that they go through to make sure you're aware of keeping the accounts properly and who's handling them, and there's no way that one person can run off with all the money.
Basically, Kathy, if something happens and there's an embezzlement or whatever, the select board pulls the bag.
Yeah.
So we need to be trained so to make sure that we are aware of what is happening in town.
Well, plus a lot of it too is fraud.
Yeah.
Fraudulent invoices, things like that, how to avoid them and how not to get scammed, and yeah, it goes
Hacking
on and
into the
on.
system and all those kinds of things.
Last but not least, unlicensed dog list. I think I gave everybody a copy.
I don't have one, but that's okay.
Yeah, I have it here.
But it's okay.
Oh, well.
It was
I
sent out.
Really, yeah.
I don't know why, for some reason or other, I don't have it.
Bill.
That's okay.
Really didn't want it up on the board.
Okay.
Okay, so.
We all wanna know who the
I
unlicensed
think
dogs are.
I had given out a list of 12, but since then I've had 3 that have come in since I gave you this list of unlicensed dogs. So we're probably looking at 9 people that have not licensed their dog that did last year.
So what happens now, what's the next step?
Next step is for me to alert you that I'm giving you this list, and now you need to give me authorization to turn the list over to the town constable. Town constable has to make contact with these 9 people and follow up. He can give citations if they refuse to license their dog within a length of time. I had to look up the
Do you
statute.
want this motion tonight?
I do, because this was supposed to be done on June 1st, but
Okay.
we're still in the month of June, so. Okay.
So we need a motion to
So moved.
turn the list over to the town constable.
Mhm.
Josh seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Say aye.
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 All right, I'll get this list then to Mike, and he can move on this and get in touch with the ones that have not licensed their dogs.
Okay. Do you have anything else?
Hey Joe, at a later time, I will bring up what we talked about the firewall. I did get that quote,
Right, yes, when you put that
so if
on.
we can put that on the
Maybe
agenda
on
for the
July?
next, yeah,
Mm.
and I'll show you the quote. And that's it. Unless you have any questions for me,
Any other questions for Kim while she's still here?
I'm gonna stick around.
Okay. The cemeteries, Bill, do you want to just for some, because I'm
I
not.
think that the best thing to do with this is to tell you that Debo's coming this week on Wednesday or Thursday, he will let me know. And Stan has agreed to go around with him, and I think we talked, I think you too. And the 2 of you go around, he's willing to do whatever you guys want to do, he's gonna give you a price. He has one cemetery that is surveyed in his records. There may be other actual surveys that we weren't aware of, and I haven't been able to talk to Kim about it, but if there's other surveys, then that would not have to be done. But what Stan is requesting is a price to actually survey the outline of the cemetery, not the,
No, right?
okay, and then somebody's gotta place the graves inside that line. Okay, and, so he's gonna come Wednesday or Thursday and then give us a price of
Will
just.
you let me know when he's coming?
As soon as I know.
Yeah. The reason this all is happening is because there's, as you know, Don is the cemetery agent, well, not agent, but he's the guy that takes care of it. And Don's getting up on age, and Kim and I have looked at this last year, and then I looked at it again a few months back, just for Middletown, and my plots are not on anywhere. There's no list on any documentation, so the documentation is very poor. So Stan's concept was that we would survey the cemeteries, and then we would have Don or somebody who knows whether, then put them on this grid, so we would have hopefully a complete list of where everybody's plot buried and whatever. And right now, it's kind of embarrassing, because if somebody comes from another, somebody who either lives in another state but has a cemetery plot and they're gone, and the family, we might not know where the plot is. So that's the reason we're starting with this.
That's a great idea. I think the Historical Society has records like that.
They did that many years ago.
Yeah.
And Kim has a whole bunch of stuff in her vault that I think it was a result of that, Kim, I think? Yeah. But it's not accurate anymore. So I think it needs to be relooked at. Updated. Yeah, it needs to be updated. And, because I just happened to be, I said to Kim, where am I? Because I bought mine, my plot 30 years ago, and it's not on there. So that raises a question, and Stan and I talked about it with Bill, and we figured that we would try to at least get this started this way.
I mean, I would have to say though, like 75% is right.
Yeah, I didn't say,
They are-
I mean, it's not bad as it is, but there are some missing links.
Yeah, there's that missing link, but overall, I think they're fairly well documented, and I'm following up on it too. Every time there's a burial, I write in
Right.
there where the burial. It's easy enough to go through the cemetery deed book. It would just take time to find them on the maps.
And
The
with
book's
Don,
only so big.
with Don coming in age, he's really the only one who knows, he was, Arrow Wood Senior transferred a lot of the knowledge to him, and I don't know how far it's gone that way, so we'll see.
But the expense of surveying, is it because you feel that the cemeteries don't know their boundaries, or?
That's
I
Stan.
mean, I can understand needing to go over where everybody's plot is, but the cemetery is pretty much a cemetery. I'm just thinking that's a big expense when you don't usually go outside the boundaries of the
Well,
cemetery.
I think the reason, I don't think he surveyed it, the reason is to get a quote to see this, and then just put it on the agenda and hire him to do so.
My guess is they want to have an accurate perimeter, so then you have reference points when you start to plot internal.
Yeah, they want to
Well,
put,
that's what we've got that already, that plots.
That may be sufficient, but
yeah.
that's Stan's idea. But I think when we look at it, I think that's what you all have to look at, whether or not this could be necessary.
Right, and so
I don't know.
we'll get a quote from him, and then we'll see, and then we can make a decision how you want to handle it. This is just an exploratory thing.
Right.
And don't forget, Don did mention several years ago that we're slowly gonna grow out of the new portion of Hoganville, so
Right.
that was brought up, 5 years ago.
Well, he talked to me recently about it, and he said even though there's a lot of land there, there's a lot of ledge, so there's a lot of areas that are not usable in
Right.
that cemetery. Okay. Okay, I guess, we'll just the wastewater now, it's okay.
You want to do the Humane
Yeah.
Society contract?
No, that's a simple thing. We'll do the wastewater. Just a little history. Most of you probably know that there was a survey in 2001, I think it was, on a wastewater proposal with tie and bond, and then the select board did another one in 2006, I think, or 7.
Yeah, it's almost
With
10
Otter
years
Creek.
ago.
Otter Creek.
Otter Creek.
And so Stan and I had started this process again, and we have a committee of 5. Stan and I are just ex officio, we have no voting powers or whatever. And they've been working and dealing with both engineers and the state and whatever. And so this is a kind of it's not a new thing, it's kind of a remake of 2 other attempts to see whether or not there is a necessity to do this. So with that, I'll let
Great.
Suze
Thank you.
explain.
And thank you very much, Select Board, for this opportunity to update you on the wastewater committee, wastewater study committee. I want to begin by introducing our team members. Paul Halleck and Matt Ciano are here with us spiritually. They're not actually here in person. The people who are here are Kim Record, who is the secretary of our committee, and Chris Wallace, who's the vice chair, and I serve as the chair. And you've recognized the names of the people who are on our committee, and you know that with the exception of the chair, these people have experience and expertise in Grafton, and they have local knowledge, and I think we have a very good team, and the town is very fortunate to have these people serving on it, so I want to thank the members of our committee also. In terms of our process, we began our meetings in March, and we have meetings the first and third Thursday of each month. We run parallel to the select board meetings, and all are welcome to attend. We have public announcements of our agendas and our minutes, and we also have a monthly Grafton news article about our upcoming meetings and a news brief about what happens at each meeting. Tonight, after this brief introduction, Chris is going to step you through our mission and what we have planned to date with respect to a voluntary residential drinking water test. And then Kim is going to take you through the designated area that we are proposing for that test.
So we're the Water and Wastewater Study Committee. We are not any type of decision-making authority. We are simply a data-driven group. We are gathering information to present to the townspeople and town government so that at some point in the future, they will have the data necessary to make an informed decision on how to proceed in the development or non-development of village water and wastewater resources. We've been working specifically with agencies that have the subject matter expertise, Wyndham Regional, Chris Campion, the Vermont Department of Health, C.L. Larson, and the Rural Assistance Partnership, RCAP, Northeastern affiliate, or specifically the Vermont Representative Mark Johnson. And it is through that last organization, RCAP Solutions, that we have the opportunity for water testing within the village. And this is normally a test that would cost $159 per tap. There'll be 3 different vials taken to test for various categories of contaminants. And that'll give us a good baseline of where we're at, especially within the village pumping ordinance area as far as the current safety of our drinking water in the village. I want to emphasize that it's no cost to the municipality or to the homeowner property owners. There are grants available, and so this is an opportunity we're taking advantage of. It'll give us a good baseline, starting point of knowing what the situation is on the water in the village. And that's going to take place August 13th and 14th. And that's the first initiative of this committee. We're also looking ahead to doing some surveys, integrating with the Planning Commission on their community survey that's going to be coming up within the next year, and inserting some questions regarding water and wastewater, and get us a sense of where the community is at, the members of the community, as far as any concerns, desire for water, wastewater, infrastructure development in the village. Looking out further, at some point, be it 2020 or beyond, depending on the data that we have gathered through all our work, we hope to have ready for the town to actually vote. We are not going to make any decision. We're not going to advocate for any position. We're strictly an information gathering group, and we're going to put all the information out there, the pros, the con, and it'll be up to the townspeople and town government to decide. Does anyone have any questions?
Chris,
Yes.
at this point, this water sampling would be voluntary on the.
Yes, it's
And-
completely
Is
voluntary.
it too early to know what percentage of the people in town are interested to have their water tested?
We don't know yet. It's going to be, a small, approximately 60 is what we're looking at. Homes within the village. We'll have Kim will talk about that in more detail. But we hope to have participation from people and make ourselves accessible. Again, it's completely free. It's completely voluntary. We will not, as a committee, be disclosing any results as far as individual results of tests. If there is a problem in the village, yes, that will inform the data that we present to the community, but we're not going to give details on specific properties. That's not within our scope.
Yep. Very good.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Kim?
Okay, so for the designated areas, I don't want to get in front of the board, but we're pretty much taking what our septic ordinance already covers. Ignore on the right-hand corner of the ledger from Tybon that we're just using this map because it was a really good map when it comes to the area that we're going to cover. And Tybon actually took the same, except we did take away up on Chester Hill. We're only going as far as where the Martells are. So we're not going out towards Keith and Rachel's up that far. So we've blocked that out. We are following out, if you go to Route 121, we're gonna go as far as Osborne Scott's house, which is next door to the Woodmans for the fire station. So we would go out. It's a clustered of area there of houses along both sides of the road coming back into the center. Kidder Hill, we're going to go as far as the Kidder Hill Bridge. There isn't a need to go out towards the Hoffmans where Willie lives or up Kidder Hill. If you're going to go, entire Pleasant Street will be done, entire School Street will be done. Townsend Road, we're going to go as far as McWilliams and Herb Pelletier, which are right up on the knoll. You're going to move to Main Street, all of that would be done. Houghtonville, we're going to go as far as where Harold I go, which is pretty much what we are. We're not going to do the Dravens, even though they're in our septic pumping. They have a big enough area. We didn't feel the need to have to test their water. Hinkley Brook, we're going to go all the way up Hinkley Brook like we normally would, but we're not going up to Rob Hall's that far. But it is going to incorporate from Patrick Cooperman and Bill Watson's and down. There's approximately, like Chris said, 60 houses when we count it. We are going to send out a volunteer list to the tenants of the Linden Foundation and the property owner. So they're both gonna get a volunteer, should they get one or should they not, because it should be up to the renter to decide whether they would like their water tested. And hopefully the landlord would agree, but they have a right to find out what their water is like. So there are some houses there belonging to the Wyndham Foundation that they have tenants, and we would like to send the tenant a volunteer list. I'm gonna have a list in my office. I thought that was the best contact for this questionnaire. It's gonna get mailed to everybody. We're gonna have labels done up. Everybody will get the questionnaire, a vaccine question, and a participation checklist. And then they're to call my office and set up an appointment as to what time. It has to be drawn from their tap, and so there has to be access to the building. And whether they have a caretaker, that's fine, we can set it up that way. Any other questions? I think pretty much.
Do you know for sure that the tenant has the, I mean, I don't foresee the foundation saying no, but push came to shove, does a tenant have?
The right,
They do have.
they do have,
And you know that for sure?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is intended to be a residential drinking water safety test. And so the people who are actually drinking the water have a right to have their water tested. And there are other landlords in the village also, and we'll be getting in touch with both their tenants and the landlord with those properties as well.
If you volunteer to have your water tested, do you get the results yourself?
Yes, you will get, yeah, and there is a place you can get the information too. If there's a problem with your water of any sort, they will contact you immediately, individually. But they're not saying that your results are out there. It will be public but not searchable. So if somebody were to call up and specifically ask for a certain location, they can give that information. It's just like my office, it becomes public record. So that would be the only thing, but yes, and it is all entirely volunteer. We're hoping that people take advantage of this.
So at our very next meeting, we're going to complete the plans for the logistical plans for this water testing. And we'll be communicating those. I believe the Water Wastewater Study Committee is going to be on all future agendas of the Select Board. And Stan mentioned that he had added us to the agenda. So we won't be giving a presentation each time, but on an as-needed basis, we will update the Select Board and those who are present here. And we'll have more detailed information about how we're going to execute this testing after our next meeting on the 20th.
At this point, do you know what will be tested, what you're looking for in the test?
Yes.
So there are three areas of testing: bacteria, inorganic matter, and radiological.
Say that again.
The three areas of testing, and that's why as Chris mentioned, there'll be 3 vials, and one is bacterial, the second is inorganic matter, and the third is radiological.
Are you going to test it, I'm assuming you're testing the commercial, like the tavern?
No.
No,
This is
you're not.
residential.
No.
Residential.
The presumption is they serve the public and they're already required to be tested, and so that testing has been done.
So the Nature Museum, the church,
The store,
the historical,
the tavern.
they will be exempt from this testing. I have a packet I can give you that, if Bill can scan and share it with you, but this is kind of the packet that's gonna go out. A cover letter to the village participants, questionnaire, facts and questions, and then a page to participate. So it's a small little envelope they're going to get. We've tried to personalize it as a committee, so there is residential community contact, so they don't feel that this is just coming from the Department of Health, that it's actually coming from some of us local, that you can refer to us for questions and feel comfortable.
Before this comes out, will there be an article in the Grafton News?
Yes.
I
Yes.
believe so, Chris.
Yes.
you can do that.
You're gonna have circulate this to the board, correct?
Yes, I'll give it to Bill to, send to you guys in an email form so you can see what's going to be sent out. Is it gonna be revised at all, or is this the final?
It's on our agenda for 6:20, so we'll be happy
There could be-
we'll send it out to you after that.
Yeah, there could be some tweaks to this one here, but we've gotten this far.
Cool.
So, on the homes that aren't gonna be, looked at, if a resident wanted to be included, can they?
Well, the way Mark explained to us, because of the cost, they can, if we got a list of people that wanted to, there is a possibility that after the whole process is done, there's another grant out there that allows, depends on the number, but can be done free of charge also. So that is a possibility. If we have enough interest, then we can generate a list and he can check further into getting it covered by a grant and having the testing done outside of what we're doing.
I think it's great. I think you guys are well on your way, and I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. And I just want to say that because I'm an ex officio, and this committee is completely independent, and whenever they're ready, it will be brought to the town, and the town will have an opportunity to understand it, and eventually it'll go to some kind of a public vote. So this is completely, above board. There's nothing hidden here, and they have their meetings, and if they're public meetings, and anybody who wants to go, I encourage you to go and listen and learn.
And we're not taking any position, pro
No.
or con, for
No.
water, wastewater, status quo, we're
No.
just data gathering.
This committee is just doing they're doing this study, and then it's up to the town to decide how or what they want to do, if they want to do anything, and they might say nothing. So, hopefully this will go farther than the last two, basically just kind of drizzled out.
Part of the fun.
Well, thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of the committee? Okay. Now, the Humane Society contract, as I understand it from Bill, it's exactly the same as it was last year.
Yeah.
So, Bill has you have the contract, don't you, Bill, I think?
You got it there.
I don't think I have
There's
it.
a letter, it's underneath the, yes, right here.
Oh, yeah, it's a chart document. So, we did it last year, there's no changes, they take any animals that are a problem and that's what we'll bring to there, so. Any questions?
Make a motion, we sign a contract to extend another year.
I'll sign it.
Was there a slight increase in cost? Was there-
I don't think so.
No, exactly the same.
Bill said it was exactly the same, I didn't compare last year's, but. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Now, who signs this, the whole board, or the clerk, or you, or what?
I think a person.
Simply says town authorized agent.
Yeah, so,
So you can authorize
So
me
we can
to
authorize town administrator to sign.
okay.
So move.
Just make sure.
All right.
the minutes
Do we have any discussion? Discussion, any discussion authorizing the administrator? All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Bill, you can sign.
Okay.
Okay. The next item is the village park to be used by the Nature Museum. Alan, you might want to deal with this.
I got the initial phone call asking if the museum could set up a tent for some activities, and they wanted to leave the tent up for a brief period of time. I said I didn't expect there would be a problem, but I thought it was best that it came to the whole board. And I suggested that they talk to Bill about it, and they've had a conversation with Bill, and so now it's on the agenda. Bill, you wanna?
Well, it's right here, that's
Okay.
what they want to do is set, they have two separate camps, I think they're week-long each, and they want to set that up near the junction of the white and red trails, just in case it rains. That's the only reason they'll use it. If it doesn't rain, they won't use it at all. And it'll be up for those periods, and then take it down, so July 8th through the 12th, and the 22nd through the 26th.
It's the town park, so. Gotta leave it.
The only question I was gonna have is, if they set something up, they're on village park land, but if they set it up and kids are in there and the wind comes through and blows it down on them, is it their liability? Do they have insurance?
We already have the insurance for them to use the town property.
We got a certificate of insurance from the Nature Museum, but my next question was, do we need any type of a hold harmless? Like we would any contractor that we're not liable?
Probably not a bad idea.
I would check to make
That's-
sure that,
Kind of what I'm.
I know they have insurance, which is good, but we should also be stated as not responsible.
Okay.
Okay, so
So,
I
yeah.
make a motion.
I would make a motion that we authorize them to authorize a request, provided they demonstrate a hold
Hold harmless.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And proof of insurance, obviously.
We've got that, they did send us that.
But I mean, it's good to put it in the
Yeah.
motion. So, second?
We'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion on Alan's motion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay. The town plan, the reason the town plan is on here, so that everybody understands that the next meeting to discuss the proposed changes by the select board will be on July 11th. And depending on how that goes, it'll be July 25th, it'll be another meeting. If that doesn't, if we still need more, it'll be August 8th, and if that doesn't happen, then we go to the 15th. And it'll be on a Thursday, and we'll have it here, since there wasn't too many people at 6 o'clock. And I can assure you that both Stan and I and Bill had a discussion with Robin Stern over the issues that were brought up on the 10th. And she is waiting for VLCT to confirm her assessment of what should have been done, or if it was done incorrectly or whatever. So when that happens, we'll make that public and we'll hopefully proceed. Any other questions on that? All right. Health officer. This is somewhat of an issue. We have a deputy, health officer, Rick Thompson. Rich Thompson. Our present health officer is in a nursing home, I think.
Yes.
And he thinks he's gonna come back, but his sister, I guess,
Dollars.
says he's not coming back. So Rich went to, I believe, did he go already, or is he going to this?
No, July 18th,
Okay, July 18th.
Kathy's gonna go.
Yeah.
and Rich is gonna go, and I think
Right.
Stan is gonna go.
Yeah, I wanted to go myself, but I can't. My wife has a surgery that day, so I can't go.
I think Stan's gonna go. And then, the whole idea is then to find out what it is the state expects of the health officer, that as it applies to a little tiny town like Grafton, and what his duties will be. And once Rich comes back and you guys are gonna come back, then we need to sit down and decide what that job's gonna look like. It may not look any different than it is right now, but it may look a lot different, depending on what the town wants to do with regard to the position of health officer and what the state law requires. So that's really, that's where it stands. And we've had a couple of things now that Rich has handled or tried to handle as best he can. And so that's why we've been doing it.
So right now, we don't have a health officer, we have a deputy.
But he is certified.
Yes, he's
as
certified.
the health officer.
But he is.
He is the
Right.
health officer.
He is. But then we'll have to deal with later on who is the real deal
Yeah.
at some point down the road. But we are covered now. He is licensed by the state, and he is going to the seminar. And I talked to Rich, and I said, why don't you go, and then if you feel you want to change things, or things aren't done properly, whatever, then come to the select board, and we'll discuss it. So you'll go, and Kathy as well. I wish I could go, but I can't. Stan, I think, is going to go. So hopefully we'll find out what we really need to do if we're not doing it already. So that would be it. Any other questions?
So
Yes.
Joe, in Rich's role as deputy, we would, and are inviting him to participate in the water study committee.
Okay, good. Yeah, that would be good. Since we came to the end of the agenda,
Excuse me?
So we have public comment. Oh,
Excuse me. Another question about the health officer matter. Is there a plan to have the water tested at the town swimming pond under the circumstances? Because it's now swimming
I'm
season.
assuming he's going to be tested, I assume, or in the process of being. He's assuming Jay's duties.
Yeah.
So, we have, before we can actually open it, I think we're waiting for the sample to come back. Is that where we are?
No, we're not. It hasn't been taken as far as we know.
Oh, okay. So we need to have him tested and get it going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because people are starting to use.
Well, the sign says no swimming, yeah.
Yeah,
And then they delivered the porta potty within the last day or two, but there's no life saving equipment over there, so I was gonna talk to, I'm glad you put it up, Lisa, because it was on my mind to ask if the water is being tested. So, thank you.
thank you.
Public comment? Okay, any other business?
I have
Go ahead.
So, probably most people have noticed that Peter Durgan smoothed up the road, the skid road from the timber sale here. And I've been in communications with Hayden Lake, our forester, and Hayden's would like to return the bond to Durgan. He feels they've closed the sale out as, you know, they're part of living up to the contract. I asked Hayden when we walked it a while ago that if he would cede the portion from the landing up to the timber line, and he's going to do that. So I told Hayden that he should go ahead and return the bond, unless somebody here sees differently. But I have to plead a senior moment that I think Hayden's holding the bond. You don't have the bond, right, at the town office? Hayden's holding the bond, so it's just a direct, he returns it. As I remember.
Do we need a motion?
I think you should.
Okay, you wanna make a motion then to?
I make a motion that we authorize Hayden to return the bond to Peter Durgan.
Second?
Can you make a motion and go to the business?
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions, Kathy? Anybody from the audience? Question? So all in favor of returning the bond, as per the motion made, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
I have something else to add.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody's been following the whole ordeal that's going on with the school merger.
Yeah, I follow it in the paper, yeah, of course I
Yeah.
can.
So we're merged. I don't know a whole lot about it any more than probably the new board does. But I believe it's July 15th, there's a town vote for the $6 million budget that covers all Westminster and our school, so it's a combined budget. As to tax rates, they're not even sure because there is no budget for us to, it's null and void, the budget that we voted on at town meeting.
Well, I think one of the towns voted the budget down.
Westminster probably
Yeah,
did,
no,
or
it was,
West.
no, it was, the one with Wyndham and,
Oh, but it didn't involve our merger.
no, but
No, not
they had the town vote and they voted it down.
Right. So in July, though, we're voting for our budget.
Right.
At
But
that
in
meeting?
Yes, at that meeting.
I don't know what the school board is making a recommendation, but I certainly won't vote for it, but that's me.
So what it's looking like right now, it sounds like the board, we do have a treasurer now. We've got a new treasurer, so they are going to borrow money to get this new merger, this new union started. I don't want to say too much because I'm not on their board, so I don't know a whole lot about it. It does impact our taxes, whereas we may not have a school tax rate by the time I need to send out tax bills. So at the last school board meeting that I went to, where they had 3 meetings in a row that night, they made the comment that we will send out a tax bill that'll have a municipal tax rate, and it's going to have probably our Union High School combined with $1, just so we could get some monies coming in. And then because July 15th is past the time I need to send out tax bills, I may have to send out a second tax bill for the school rate.
I think what we need to do is have the school board come here on the July 1st meeting. I mean, I think that's.
And like I said, I'm not sure how
We
much
need to
believe in
we need to
you.
understand what's really going on here from their
And
point of
Jack came into my office on Friday. He's going to try and put together some sort of verbiage to put into the Grafton News to kind of explain about the taxes. I'm not even sure how we're gonna handle the tax bills. How does it implicate people's prebates that they get back?
view. This is a nightmare.
It is, and you know, like Edie said, this is gonna impact the treasurers, and it's gonna be a lot more work to send out double the set of bills. Are our residents gonna understand? Now you're gonna get your first bill, it's gonna look awesome, but hello, you got another one coming.
It's right at this.
And then some people who pay the whole tax bill, then they're gonna have to pay an additional tax again. So it's total confusion, actually.
Yes, it's very confusing right
But it
now.
sounded as though the Grafton's taxes are gonna go up substantially,
Big time.
Right, they will.
which Westminster's not.
Westminster's going up some,
They carry
but
But remember now that there's still, the lawsuit is still out there. So I don't know where that stands, but there is maybe a slim possibility that that could prevail. I don't know.
Say your prayers.
I wouldn't count on it. It's-
So if 3 people show up at that meeting, 2 of them can vote yes on a budget and 1 no, and we will have a budget. What I'm saying is, if you're not there, you're not voting. And whoever does show up is gonna vote, right? It's gonna be like town meeting.
I believe
This
it's a
is-
meeting it's a budget from
Yeah,
the
so if
floor.
you're not there, you don't have any say in your taxes.
So this is not a strike out. This is, you have to go to the actual physical meeting.
It won't be until the next year in March that there'll be Australian ballot for any board members and the budget at that point. Right now, it's on the floor.
But Bill's right. If 10 people show up, then they pass a budget for everybody.
I can't understand why, and I can see going that direction, but what's the hurry? Why could they not delay a year? You know,
The state, you mean?
well, yeah, say,
Yeah.
this is what's gonna happen next year, and then give people time to prepare for it.
Because their feeling is that we should have had plenty of time because we should have done this before. When they first asked us.
Josh, you want to say anything?
Just thinking in my mind, I hope it doesn't turn out like things always do in Bellows Falls and Rockingham, where literally a handful of people come out and vote on a $6 million budget. You know, less than 200 people come out to vote on that. So I hope everybody shows up for this.
Yeah, the 6 million is what they did is they combined both budgets and came, you know, so it's not like our vote was any different, I believe, the amount that we voted in. It just, theirs was that much more.
I'm just wondering.
They had a deficit, and I'm so confused, and Jack couldn't explain to me, they had a deficit in their school year, and we had a surplus. And we're not really sure where that works in.
But as I sit here, I'm thinking about this, what would happen if the tax bills go out, and then the court decision comes 6 weeks later? Okay, we've got to refund the money? I mean, this is a nightmare.
It's a mess.
And you know what's gonna happen, I mean, if the decision does go, well, probably either way, it might get appealed. They'll probably appeal it to the Supreme Court, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, I can't speak for the school board, but certainly if the school board if the state loses, they're gonna appeal it, I can tell you that. So it's like a nightmare.
But it would be wise probably to invite a school board member to.
Yeah, I think we'll put it on the agenda then, you know, so that at least they can get on TV and maybe whoever watches these meetings could understand and maybe they would participate in this vote.
And their meetings are televised also,
Yeah.
with Fact TV, so you can go on there and watch.
So Josh is right, I mean, if you could, this is a tremendous budget and all of a sudden 10 people come and it's over.
So the vote on 15th is just for the Grafton folks, or is it Athens and Westminster?
It's Athens, Grafton, and Westminster.
Oh, on the 15th.
It's posted on the website.
It's on the website and it's on our bulletin board.
Yeah.
It's the same people that were at that meeting 6 weeks ago in Bellows Falls High School. It's the same communities, and it's the voters. That meeting is for the voters of the districts, not the select, not their board, not nothing. It's for the voters to be there. And so if you're not there,
Yeah, I'm not sure that people realize that. I think a lot of people think that it's a meeting of the board, the new board that consists of 2 people each per town. Is the select board planning to do anything to help spread the word that voters need to show up? It's like a town meeting.
It's a
It
special.
is a
It's a
town
town,
meeting.
but people don't know that. So what's the plan to?
Well, I think the school board should take the lead on that one because that's really.
It's a town meeting.
I think Jack's gonna put something in the Grafton News, but word of mouth, yeah,
Well, Lisa, I think that's
just talk it
why
up.
we'll get the school board here on the July 1st and gives us 15 days to do something.
Yeah, but it would be great to have it in the Grafton News for July. It's the
Well, I agree.
July 1st meeting is too late for the Grafton.
I agree.
Yeah, he's gonna have an article, he's working with Wendy now.
Yeah,
It's very confusing. I can't keep track of it, and they're all having a hard time keeping track of it.
All right, any other business? If not, go ahead, Jen.
June 6th, we had the Trahan planting. We planted 480 trees and shrubs, and it was, I thought, a very successful day. I did put an article in the Grafton News to thank folks that did show up. The Grafton School was amazing, the kids, and all the adult folks from the community that came. It's a great day.
Thank you for doing that.
And Josh was our, he had the easiest job.
Well, thanks to Ivor.
Thanks to Ivor Stevens with the post hole digger to dig some holes, but everybody pitched in and it was a success, so I'm glad it's done. And I have to thank MGS Lawn Care and Landscape and my husband especially for watering for 2 days straight. Thanks for the rain. But they're coming. There's leaves
Really?
popping out, and we had folks donating lilacs and lilies, and so
Very
it was
good.
great.
Oh, very good.
great, thank you.
Any other business? Okay, so we'll motion to adjourn at 7:05.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. The next meeting is July 1st here at 6 p.m.